guys, we're looking at changing our PR Racing EVO Type R from a laydown car to a mid-motor so we can run on a little lower grip track this weekend, in fact. Just want to show you the part numbers involved. It's basically 3 part numbers. You got your side plates, so there's going to be that guy, and then you have your gear cases, which are that guy, and then your motor plate, along with some various other screws to put the gearbox back together, because they do require different link screws depending on which case you're running. And a waterfall would probably be good, so I'll get that part for you here before we're done. So what we're going to do now, we're going to swap it over, see what's all involved, see what we got to fix or modify, and then go from there. Let's take everything off here. All of our tires. Okay, start peeling everything else off here. You got a parts tray, so we can keep track of everything. Flip screws off. We're going to be running through this as long as we don't lose any. You got a new MIP speed tip on here, 2mm. Hopefully this one won't wear out as quick as the other ones we seem to go through. It is a pretty tight fit on these screws, so I don't expect any stripping anytime soon. And the back camber plate. Camber plate is something we may or may not be able to reuse. I think a direct bolt on probably not going to happen, so we'll see what we got to do there. There we got the hose. Off our shocks. We may most likely have to switch this around too. Move the shocks to the back, simply because we don't have an option to run them with the mid-motor stand-up gear case. At least not yet. Make sure we don't lose anything. Drop a nut on the floor. It's right there. Alright, so basically, other than our sway bar, we're pretty much sitting on the rear end all the way out. There. Grab all this stuff, put it in our parts tray. So we'll probably need to take our sway bar off. I'm not going to run that. Should get some more room here. And we got to take our ball studs out. matter which side. Probably take them out of the inside. Get on them. Have to switch to the old tip. The old tip's a little smaller, a little narrower, even higher up on the. There's no spacers on the inside, so that's probably the best one to take off. We won't lose them. The only problem with this tip is it's pretty well wore out, so I think we'll swap again. I don't want to strip anything. Get it lined up on these ball studs and should be able to turn them off, but yep. Ooh, hit the camera. Alright, so our trains is out. We can kind of park the car for a minute and see what else we got to pull off here. We're going to try and reuse the camber plate, so pull those two off. And pretty much we're reusing most of the internals for the trans, except for the diff, because we're going to be using a ball diff. We will be running stock with this car, so that is pretty much the reason. Save all your screws, make sure they're all together as much as you can. And we're going to want to take the slipper off, so that'll be the 7. Slipper comes off pretty easy. We don't really have to take the motor plate off because we're not going to be using that. Now we'll probably rebuild this trains up with at least just be ready to run some carpet at some point this winter. So that'd be the nice thing, just being able to swap the trans, the side plates, and the waterfall, and be good to go. Try and keep all the screws together here. There's a nut on the back side of that guy. See which ones we didn't get out all the way here. Probably this guy here. There we go. So we're going to need all the bearings. Oh, and then I want to keep all those together. Oh well. Need the top shaft and the bearings. You want to be pretty easy on this, just pop them out. Alright, we might be able to take the motor plate off to get to that bearing. I think there's just a little size difference, so don't have to take the last one all the way out. So yeah, that bearing's captured in there pretty well. I'm going to pop them out now, pretty easy hopefully. Everything away from where it needs to go. Oh yeah, much easier. Okay, so there's our two top shaft bearings. We're probably going to need 3 for the mid-motor case, so the other one is in this side. I'll pull out all this stuff too. Except for the, well, we're going to need bearings, so we got to take the diff out, unfortunately. And we got to figure out how to get the bearing off. Alright, so we figured this out. It does come off. We build it without them on there, so the bearings come off. We had to use something like this to get both sides of the bearing. Pop it on and pry up, and they come right off. So pretty good shape there. Put that off to the side. We do have our gear diff, or our ball diff. We'll put the bearings right back on. Oh, I got to trim that a little bit. You'll have to trim your tab for putting ball diffs in without cutting your fingers. Alright, they've got the bearings on, ball diff, and with ball diffs, for the way you put them in the gear case, you want the screwdriver side to the right hand side of the car, looking at it from the back. So I'll show you that here and again. The screw kit for the mid-motor is that guy. That's going to get you all the screws pretty much for the whole car, and the ones for the transmission most importantly. So we should see if the side plates, make sure the side plates are going to fit. So I cut open the bag. The EVO chassis is a little shorter, so we got to make sure that the side plates are going to fit. And then we can also punch out the other bearing in the top shaft before we do that. So I can put the case over here. Okay. Sure nothing's going to fall off. Hoping these side plates are going to be a direct bolt on, but you never know. Pop up our last screw in the front here. Okay. Looks like we are going to get lucky. So there you go. You can see the difference in the side plates. This is the mid motor. You got more movement to the back, and you got the same distance to the front. But you will have trouble with motor screws and stuff if you try to run the laydown with this, unless you change the way the battery strap and everything mounts to this post. So we can get this all back together. And for all the posts, you want the longer screws. Yep. So So no difference between the side plates there. This one's another long one. I am doing this video while we're actually open here at the store, so if you notice a lot of breaks or cuts, that's because somebody came in. And looks like we're going to have one less screw, so you will need a different battery strap as well. Be the mid-motor battery strap. Unless we decide to make some straps for the mid-motor like the EVO, which is entirely possible. Do the other side. Oop. Everything all swapped around. Just going to have a pile of parts as usual. And then we'll transfer our threaded studs out of the plates from the EVO to the new car, or new plates. Short guy for the first screw again. There. Another 6mm. Just a little snugging. Get the wrench in there. Okay, so our plates are on. It's a good thing. It's the first time looking at this, so we may run into some snags we'll have to take care of. Otherwise, we will have a mid-motor trans on this car for next weekend. We're going to load everything again, our mid-motor trans housing this way. We want our screw sticking out that side. And then we'll get the top shaft in here in a second. And then we'll get the bearings in the top shaft housing. So one that one on this side. And then we have one on the other side. And then the top shaft. Where it rolled off to. There it is. Make sure we don't have any crud on it. Looking pretty good. want to check the diff for really bad slop. It's not too bad. We tighten up the case, that'll get better. So this is good. And then we got our screw kit. We have to pick and choose what screws we have here. Because I don't have a manual out right now. Those are the housing screws for the other case. It's pretty much all the screws for a mid-motor. We're going to need some of the longer screws for the trans. I'll figure that out as we put it together. Most of them come in this way, so see, the top ones are going to be our long ones. Those are going to be the monsters here. Might even be too long. There's one, so we need a bunch more like that. At least, well, yeah, the monster one goes down here. Yep. So another one that long. There we go. And our motor plate. PR doesn't have a layback trans yet. Just have a stand up and a lay down, and then the LCG lay down. Okay. Well, maybe this does bolt onto that one. I don't think so, though. Well, maybe it does. Oh, okay. Maybe that's for the 4-gear. This one bolts on the old way. New way? I don't know. So it's got to be somewhere like that. Yep. And we're going to need the flatheads that we had on this guy. Could take them out of the other kit, but we're going to use some fairly long ones because I'm not sure how short ones are going to hold up. That one might be a little too long. And we'll dig through the pile. And maybe we don't have one in between in this kit. Yeah, we'll use some short ones. I got one long one in there, so that should be pretty strong. Just got to make sure you don't go through the other side if you're putting a longer screw in. It's not that big a deal, but I do like to make sure I minimize weight as much as possible. So then the screws I need are going to be a little bit different now for this side, so we have to kind of see where they end up. So that one's going to be almost to the end of the case, which is probably good. I say probably. Make sure the rest of them do the same thing. We're not running all the way through the case with these, we're just going to the other side. So there's another one. We'll get one of those in. Okay. And let's get some for the bottom. See if these guys, no. Gonna be shorter ones than those. So another one here. A little bit longer than that one maybe. Again, we don't want these sticking out the other side, that's for sure. Looks like that's going to be it. Probably a few more of those. This rear set up and the top one. Okay. One of those right there. And then a fairly short one for the top. That guy right there. Again, not going all the way through the case, but not being flush with it either. That tightens it up pretty good. This guy's going to be a through bolt, so I'll bolt through and then a nut on the back side. And then we need another one for the top, which is that guy. Alright, so there's basically the trans all together. Yep. So we're good to go there. Let's get the slipper back on. Make sure this is all clean, no grit or anything on the slipper plate. Same thing with the pad. We're going to want to get the pad keyed in before we try and put it on. The other one's already in, so that one's probably tighter. So let's try and get it on that way. I usually put them in this way. The bottom one's going to fall off. So there you go. Probably going to want even a smaller spur, but I got to remember what I ran last year. Get our spring on, our washer, and our lock nut. I usually just have it so there's a couple threads showing, and once I get in the car I'll reset the slipper with my thumb so it just slips a little bit, and then we'll tighten it up a little from there and check it on the track. So our play's reduced now, that's pretty good, maybe 1/2 millimeter or so. So that's pretty much how we're going to sit it in there. Get the shock tower on here. We're going to be swapping the mounts around, so we're going to have to do that. Since we're going to be mounting the shocks on the back side of the shock tower. So I find my 2mm bit. I'm not sure, there it is. So we have to swap the wing mounts around. Oop. think I had it on backwards anyway, but oh well. Only one location for the wing mounts. Just want to make sure we get the right length screws in here. That should be good. We already got them threaded, so we just start them by hand and run them in. Problem we're going to have, well, not really a problem. We just got to leave them a little bit loose. So we do have to run screws through the trans case to get to them. So we can get our lower mounts in. It's going to be these guys. I think that's going to be plenty of material. At least on the lower, probably run a little longer screw down there. Let's see if we got some longer ones. Looking for button heads. Doesn't look like we're going to have in the kit, so we'll run those. Not a biggie, but I would probably run these a couple millimeter longer into the gear case. Get it going. Free it up a little bit. You got plenty of thickness to go through. You can definitely use some longer screws. We're just going to put the same ones back in on top. Just got to find another button head. Same length. Sure. Yep. Those are probably 10s. You could definitely use a 12 or 14 even on the lowers. Oop. And this one is the lower mount, so we need the longer ones. Those are probably these guys here. To some extent, you probably use even longer ones. Those are too long. So, probably again I would get a couple more millimeter longer screws than what comes in the mid-motor screw kit, because you are pretty much going through the bulkhead here. EVO shock towers don't have multiple mounting holes, at least not the ones we have. To move the wing mount out of the way, so we're just going to thread this on until we get it to line up. Now we got to get started in the wing mount. One way or another. that's better. Okay, and then we need the long one again for the bottom over here. Just looking at it real quick. Oops. Okay, when you're threading it all the way through a hole, it's you got to make sure it gets started first. There we go. Make sure there's no gap on your wing mounts. So we're good there. Don't think that's going too much of anywhere right now. So we're pretty much left with getting the trains back in. Right now we will be using the stock molded ball stud mount. At some point we will switch to the aluminum one, but hold on. Okay, so the aluminum mount isn't going to fit right on the mid-motor trans because at least one item is that the countersunk screw on top doesn't line up with the ball stud mount on the trans. So our plan is we're going to cut those off, the ball stud mounts on the trans part, we're going to cut those off, and then we'll we'll mount up the aluminum camber plate in place of those. So we may end up shortening it, taking some off the bottom so that it's the same height as the ball stud mount. Looks like only about 3 millimeters difference that we'll have to take off, and then make a new groove for the sway bar mount if we want to run those, but we'll see how that works out. That's going to be some modification work. So we'll get the trans on and get it bolted down. We got some screws here. Now these, I believe we can use shorter ones. I think they're 8s. I don't think they'll need any bigger than that. That'll at least hold it in there for us for now. And then we'll have to see what else we need here. Is there rear holes? There are rear holes, so a couple more of those guys. And get the back ones in before somebody else shows up. Oh. All right. Put your screws out of the way here. We won't be using the sway bar, so we can pop the links off there. Those are going to be a pain too, but that's okay. Screwdriver in there and pop them off. Alright, so take off our shocks, move them to the back. This will be able to get them started straight. Alright, so drive shaft, see where our camber links come out. These ball studs are probably going to be a little small. I need some longer ones, but we'll at least pre-thread the holes here. If we can get a wrench in. Switch to a different 2mm. Actually goes in the hole. Not going to tighten that up too much because we're going to put longer ones in there. So to put it in the ball stud mount that's in the case, you need longer ball studs than the 6mm or 4s, probably 6mm that come with the EVO kit. Just a note. Okay. We want to make sure our chocks are going on same way. Same hole in the back of the A-arm. We're going to run the front. Get it to start here. Okay. Always want our bleeder screws out, so make sure we got those. Well, fighting the spring and the ride height here, so. So we got plenty of clearance on our camber links, the way we have them set up now, even though you can run the short ones on both ends. You have our waterfall, and that is that part number for your mid-motor cars. It will fit the EVO. You do have two sets of holes here. The EVO chassis. It's even got the locating, well, I guess it doesn't have the holes. Interesting. Alright, so there is one thing you won't be able to do unless you drill new holes, which we might. It's just two more holes we got to drill there. Probably lay another chassis on it and mark them and pop the holes in. But for now, we'll put the waterfall on just for giggles. Get us a couple button heads here. Just remind me that I got to drill some holes this week. We did that with the short course truck. We laid a buggy chassis on it and drilled the holes for the laydown waterfall. I had a laydown in my short course. So other than a couple screws holes you got to drill for your waterfall, if you're going to run the waterfall, most people do tend to run the waterfall. We got to put the through bolt through here with the nut, and then figure out how we're going to use the aluminum camber plate on the back, which I think we can bolt right through. There's a spacer for the EVO that I think we can make work. Might have to trim down the sides. We can use that spacer in there, maybe not even trim down the sides. It should slip right in. It's the Revo or the EVO part, which will take up the gap there. Let us bolt down the aluminum camber plate tight, and we're pretty much ready to go. I do got to get some electronics in this thing, so that'll be the next thing I got to do. But there you go, guys. That's swapping out the EVO laydown trans to the mid-motor trans with the minimal parts. So we'll show you all the part numbers again. I'll just show you the header cards, and then you can pause the video, do whatever you need to do to get those. So there's the mid-motor gear case. Make sure you can see that. The mid-motor screw set. It helps you get all the screws for the trans. The waterfall motor mount brace, motor plate for the mid motor. Is the CNC lightened one, and then the lateral plates, the side plates for the chassis. So there you go. We're going to do probably a bunch more little ones like this, little videos, so stay tuned. See how easy it is to work on PR stuff. I mean, we did that in a matter of an hour maybe total time. So thanks for watching, guys. Check out our YouTube channel, check out our website where most of our videos are now, or will be. Otherwise, looking for PR stuff, stop by the rcproshop.com. We got most everything they have. Okay, just a quick update with the EVO mid-motor conversion that we did. Here's the finished product. Not a ton of different things to try and change. The biggest was basically beveling the suspension mounts for in front of the motor, or behind the motor actually, so that we could get the motor in there, number one, and then have room to change gear ratios if we needed to. So you can see we took a good chunk off the corner of the EVO block, so that the mid-motor worked out right. Otherwise, we used pretty much all stock PR mid-motor parts and EVO parts. So this is basically a turnbuckle off an upper camber link turnbuckle with a long ball cup on one end and the shock eyelet, a short shock eyelet on the other. We just threw a flathead screw from the bottom, holding the pivot ball there. Otherwise, over what we had last year, I had basically the mid-motor kit last year that I ran at our local track. This car, I just ran it last night, yesterday in fact, at our first points race, and it's definitely tighter than what I had last year, even at the end of the year. So we're going to be working on a little bit of shock stuff for next time, and then we should be good. The car was fast, felt really good, other than some bump steer issues that we worked out throughout the day. Otherwise, if you got an EVO, you're running on carpet, just a few bucks, you can be running. Our track's hard packed, but it's kind of dusty and can get slick, real slick actually, during the day. So a few bucks in parts, and you could have everything you need to go from really high grip to kind of a slick track. So there you go. That's pretty much our EVO mid-motor conversion. Pretty much all PR parts, guys. So take a shot if you got an EVO, a few bucks, get all the parts you need, and then you'll have a great car that's real versatile on just about every track condition. See you guys later.